There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.
Everybody, greetings to you wherever you are. This is Kevin. This is the Country Music Time Machine. And you are tuned into the Front Porch Podcast. Yes, we're on the front porch right now where the current temperature is like 92 degrees. And the folks at the radio station says the heat index is 99. And I'm feeling every bit of it. You won't see me sweat tonight, I promise. Hopefully it cools down a little bit. But I'm so happy to be here with you. Wasn't here last week because last week I was enjoying the 4th of July holiday. And as a lot of you know, or some of you know, I just ended a career, 24-year career with the State Department where I was a U.S. diplomat. So I was often stationed overseas in many great countries, and sometimes I couldn't spend 4th of July in the U.S. So I enjoyed the heck out of it this year in my small town. We had to get together down near the town square and fireworks and all that stuff. We had a lot of fun. But the highlight of my 4th of July was this moment right here. I'm going to play it for you. When somebody brings out a guitar in my living room, especially if it's my older daughter and Gracie, of course, on vocals, I've got to record it. So let's check out this quick little clip of my July.
I've been to hell, I've been to Vegas, and God knows where, but nothing feels like home, like you, babe. I love you more than you will ever know.
Yes, that is a Russian nesting doll on my table there. I still am unpacking my stuff. You know, when I was in Moscow for 3 years, I got lots of Russian nesting dolls. But anyway, wherever you're dialing in from, as always, we want to know where you're dialing in from, whether it's here in the good old US of A, Tennessee, Alabama, it's Canada. We've got viewers in Israel, Honduras, New Zealand, all over the place. Please chime in. Let me know who you are and where you're from, even if you do it every time, because a lot of folks here are tuning in for the first time and they've never heard from you before and they want to hear from you. So let's go over to the comment section, see who we got on the line today. Let's see here. I think DDRR was the first one. Wisconsin is in the house. Yeah. Maria Brown is in the house. Maria Brown is always in the house, or at least on the front porch, you know. Who else do we have? We have Heather Penman. She's saying hello. And it says GB. Is that Great Britain, Heather? You'll have to let me know because my eyes are old and not as good as it used to be. Maria says, watching from New Jersey where it's hotter than a firecracker. Well, it's hotter than a firecracker in Tennessee. I went out to trim trees today, but it ended up to a brush clearing party. 3 truckloads of stuff, you know, and yeah, I haven't taken a shower yet. So you guys are lucky. You can't smell me on the YouTube here. Also, Michael Murphy is saying howdy from Newark, Ohio. Jeff's Guitars is warm and nice in New England. William May. Good evening, everyone, from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Hope you all had a great, good 4th. As always, Joshua John, our country music historian, who gives me a lot of data, and he gave me a lot of data for this episode tonight, is tuned in from upstate New York. We have P. Smith from Albuquerque. It's 89. Why is it hotter in Tennessee than Albuquerque, New Mexico? That's not fair. Katie says, hey, y'all. Corey Beaver, where's Corey Beaver at tonight? He's in North Platte, Nebraska. Cool. Katie says, from the farm family. Yeah, we got a little farm family here. Now I'm going to be telling you about another farm couple in just a few seconds here. I got a great surprise for you tonight. I'm so excited to tell you about it. Stand by for it. I'll be telling you about it in just a little bit. Rita Harris, good evening, Kevin. I hope you had a wonderful day. This is the Reeves from New Jersey. Always love to hear from New Jersey. We've got P. Smith said, the color blue looks real good on you. Here's a little known fact. I am colorblind. I have no idea what the color is. I bought it and I thought it was gray because colorblind people like me, we get really worried about what we wear. So I thought, you know, it'll match my jeans. So I guess it's blue. That's all right. But it does feel sort of cool. That's why I got it. And J-Cat is saying howdy from Oregon. And, you know, it's probably cooler in Oregon right now, too. And J-Cat, I knew he was going to tune into this episode because it's all about great ladies of country music, you know. And I mean, I'm so excited about that. And, you know, I just can't hold it within myself as I talk about these great ladies. And one lady you may have never heard of, but she's great, too. And you're going to hear why she's so great. So let's go ahead and bring up that. Let's bring J-Cat off the channel for right now. And the Start of the Country Music Time Machine and the Front Porch Podcast news update for this evening. And now I'm going to tell you a little story. And, you know, I planned this episode about great ladies in country music a few weeks ago. And I had all the ladies lined up and everything. And I was watching YouTube this week. And really the only thing I watch on YouTube are videos about Coke and Pepsi, as you can see it in my hand here, as I take a sip, and golf. Because I love golf. I play golf, but I'm not working out in the field or the yard or the trees or something. And I was watching a silly golf video. And when the golf video went off, I got this recommended video from a channel called Scout Outdoors. I'm like, where's that coming from? Maybe they knew that I was an outdoors guy and I was always out in the trees and the woods and the bush and with the chickens and the cats and the deer and all that stuff. I don't know. It's just magical if you really think about it. So I tuned into the channel and I was just knocked off my rocker, and that's a crazy country slang, if you didn't know it, by the content they have. Just a very honest, open, and transparent program on YouTube. And those are very hard to find. And basically the story is, it is a young, beautiful couple. Maddie and Kelly Clark are living in Newfoundland. I guess I said that right. I've been to Canada many times and I love Canada. It's either Newfoundland or Newfoundland. But they're living up there and they are living basically sort of off the grid. And I like to watch those shows because, like here on the Country Music Time Machine, we get in the time machine, we go back in time all the way on this channel to the 40s to bring you country music history. They actually, in their own way, are going back in time and living a lifestyle that not many people live anymore. And they work their butts off. They seem to enjoy it. And I love their channel. And I'm going to bring you a little clip from their channel right now. They're not paying me to do this. I'm just doing it because they are a cool couple from Scout Outdoors. In this little clip, they're on their little island off the coast of Newfoundland. Am I saying that right? I need to be better at geography. I know. But they're leaving the dock, and they're getting ready to get to the area where they're going to build a fence for their goats that they're going to have coming in soon. So let's watch this little clip.
Couple goats, couple sheep, 2 chickens.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Great. All them days work, Ronnie.
All days work, Ronnie. This is what March 5th looks like out here in St. Joseph's. I mean, we got a flick of snow last night. It doesn't look very springy probably when you watch this, but it's springy.
Now, what a great channel. What a great couple. Maddie, as you can hear in his voice, That is a Canadian accent, without a doubt. I'm sure there's some word for his accent, Newfoundlander accent. But Kelly is not from Canada. Kelly is from the Appalachian region of Virginia. And she works just as hard on their little farm, their little tract of land, as does Maddie. And that's what makes them a great team, and they're great to watch. And they're just so honest and open about everything they do there. And it's a pleasure to enjoy. But when I was watching their second episode they have more episodes, but the second episode that I watched, Kelly broke out the guitar and started singing. And it was near the end of the episode after a hard day's work, and it floored me. So I want you guys to stay tuned for that, because I'm going to play her song right here on the Country Music Time Machine on the Front Porch Podcast after I round out talking about the great history of female artists in country music history. I think you're going to enjoy it. I know you will, because she's lovely, she's talented, she's hardworking, and I just want more people to hear her and get the idea of what real country music, or you can call it folk music, whatever you want to call it, what the real stuff is really like, what it's supposed to sound like. And you're going to hear that from Kelly. So make sure you stand by for that. Yes, they work hard on their farm, little tract land. I do too. I want to show you this little clip here. We did add some chickens to our little tract of land here in Middle Tennessee. And it's politically incorrect, I know, but I call them the Dixie Chicks because they are still chicks. They're growing faster than anything and pooping all over the place. But I call them the Dixie Chicks, and Gracie is naming them. I don't remember what the name she gave me, but she's naming them. But I'm going to give you a little clip from the Dixie Chicks cam right here close to the front porch. Let's go in and turn up that cam. Yes, they're minding their own business there. Eating a little bit of watermelon squash today. And I think Gracie even fed them eggs. I was like, is that like a cannibal or something, feeding chicken eggs? I guess it's okay. I don't know. But those are the Dixie Chicks. And we love them. They're entertaining. They're a lot of work, but we love to have them around. We can't wait till they start making eggs. A big shout out to the Country Music Time Machine crew members of the week. Those most actively involved on this great channel. Christian Serpentine, quite often on here. Ken Nestor. I don't know if Ken has ever been on among the busiest Country Music Time Machine viewers. Welcome, Ken. Ann M. has been on here a few times. And a welcome to Kenyatta Frazier. Kenyatta was just jamming to so many videos. We've got a bunch of those videos here on the Country Music Time Machine. And Kenyatta, thank you for tuning in. Yeah, those are my chickens. All right. We had a lot of great episodes come out since the last time I was on the front porch with you. And one of the great ones was Patriotic Country Songs Edition 2. Now, Edition 1 is still getting watched a lot. And I got this comment from Sally Powell. And she says, if you're going to play these songs, I'd rather hear HERE, the songs all the way through, and less of your talking. Well, Sally, as I have explained for 2 years now, this channel is about the history of the country music that we all know and love. In order to tell the history, I do have to talk sometimes. This is not a jukebox. There are plenty of places to listen to a lot of great country music, support those artists. But that's what Sally said, and you see I even put a love heart thing on it anyway. But for Patriotic Country Music 2, Janet Baker says, as a new subscriber, the only song I recognized was Distant Drums from the great Jim Reeves, because I grew up in the 60s, but I enjoyed hearing the stories behind the songs. I need to watch part 1 now. Thank you, Janet, for covering my back on that one. Thank you so much. It's folks like Janet that let me talk just a little bit more about country music history. Another episode came out this past Thursday, getting a pretty good amount of views, is Crazy Country Lyrics. This is sort of like the cousin to Crazy Country songs that I've done, and that series has gotten millions of views. But this is the first episode, maybe of many more to come, where we focus on the crazy country lyrics themselves, not just the song or the artist, but sort of hyper focus on the lyrics. And one of those songs I mentioned that Ann is talking about here was Fancy from Reba McEntire. And Ann says, Fancy was gross when Bobby Gentry sang it. It was still gross when Reba did it. It will always be gross. You know, I understand where Ann is coming from. When I was on the radio, when I first played that record on the radio, I was blown away because the song tells a story of about a mom selling her child to prostitution. You know, there's a lot more to it than just that, but it is strong. Would that song go nowadays? I don't know, but it was a big hit for Reba, and we love it. Love the song. It's on my playlist either way. And Warp Dog Record Hound goes on and explains even more about it. He talks about the appeal in older songs from a totally different era where we may not totally understand it in our eyes, our point of view now. But he's saying we can learn from some things of history, and it's a great comment, and I appreciate Warp Dog Record Hound chiming in on crazy country lyrics, and The Pill by Loretta Lynn that was hugely controversial. She had quite a few controversial songs. Speaking of Jim Reeves, Velvet Voice. I did a short on, I think he has one of the greatest male voices in country music or any music history. And Jim Reeves, of course, died in a plane crash. And I had this comment come in from Tutton Bobo. And I guess he's talking to the dead Jim Reeves here as he says, you had a judgment problems flying a plane into a storm. Now, let me explain. I went to flight school, and one of the hobbies I've had along my life was flying airplanes. And in our flight school, even when I went to, that was 2005, we had Garmin GPSs, we had radar, weather, and everything. And in 1963, 64, in the 60s, you did not have those types of things. I don't know what the situation with Jim Reeves was. If he just got in his plane and decided to go fly into a storm, I doubt he did that. I imagine he was coming from somewhere, and those light aircraft don't carry a lot of gas. And if you're coming, especially if you're, say, flying from Memphis or somewhere in West Tennessee, coming back to Nashville, the plane crashed near Brentwood, you know, you had to make a decision. You had to land somewhere, or you're going to run out of gas and crash anyway, or hard land anyway. But that's how Jim Reeves passed away. So that's just Tug Bobo putting his 2 cents in about Jim Reeves flying into a storm. Another comment comes from J-Cat, and you guys can get involved and help J-Cat out of this. This could be called Name That Tune, because he's trying to figure out what a country song is. So Joshua John, please chime in if you know what he's talking about. He says, I have a challenge for country music historian Joshua John. I'm trying to remember a song. It's a truck driver song from, I believe, the 70s. Two drivers are changing a tire on their truck. One of them has a broken arm. When they asked how he got the broken arm, he said he got a hold of a Playboy and he thought it was a catalog and broke his arm filling out order forms. That would probably make a crazy country song. So Joshua John, anybody out there knows what song that is, and we've done this quite a few times on this channel, and I think we got a perfect record at figuring out what the songs were. Please chime in, let J-Cat know, or let me know, and I'll let J-Cat know on what that song is. All right, we always feature this on every edition of the Front Porch Podcast, what I call crap on social media. Social media is full of a lot of crap. Over on Facebook, we get about 9 to 10 million views a month on the Country Music Time Machine page over there. But quite often I see a lot of junk. And here's an example of that junk. This page, movie character, whoever that is showing a picture of supposedly Blake Shelton sitting on the corner of a box, which is probably going up his butt right about now, made by AI, of course. And in the other photo, Blake is sitting on his guitar, which is even stranger. He's talking about Keith's sadness and someone witnessing Blake's, sadness at the cemetery over Keith's death. But it's all crap. It's not true. Look at the grave. That's a tiny grave with a tiny American flag on it. And it's all AI generated. And The next time I see Blake Shelton, I'm going to say, Blake, I saw you in a photo on Facebook and you were sitting on a corner of a box. Are you having any kind of problems down there you need to see a doctor about? So it's just bad AI. Over to the right, you see the Toby Keith real grave and monument for him. But the sad thing about this one post had like hundreds of comments, hundreds of shares, and hundreds of likes. I just can't understand that. People, don't be fooled by crap on Facebook like this. But there was one smart person out there named Eugene Price. And Eugene Price says, Blake also rode his horse there and sang, whiskey for my men, beer for my horses. And you can see there's another AI-generated photo of supposedly Blake Shelton with 3 legs on a horse. I just love it. There are some sane people out there. Here's a Connor Smith update. Last month, I worked at the CMA Fest in downtown Nashville, and that is where Connor Smith, country artist, ran over a elderly woman that was crossing the street. And very sad story. And like I said before, that was a busy area, a lot of people walking around, a lot of things going on in that area. But he's sorry about it. He stopped performing right now while he tries to figure out what's going on. But he has been officially charged with a misdemeanor in that fatal crash. So our thoughts continue to go with the family of the person who died. But we also think about Connor as well as he tries to deal with the impact of something as crazy as that. Ray Stevens did suffer a heart attack recently, and our thoughts and prayers are going out to Ray Stevens on his rehabilitation. Hopefully he'll come back with us. As I always say, you never know we're going to lose these great country stars. So make sure if they're on tour and you see them, go see them, because it could be your last chance. But we want Ray to stay around with us for a long time. He's one of the kings of country comedy in country music history. And one more update from the health line of things. Ronnie McDow, I think he had a mini stroke, possibly. This is coming from his son. He says, well, folks, I thought it was time to give you another dad update after today's appointment. Not really a whole lot to report as of yet. I've spoken to Dad a few times today, and he sounds great. So that is great news from Ronnie McDow. Let's hope he recovers well and everything goes fine. Let's go over to the chat section, see what's happening in the chat section. Let's go up here. JCat saying it's 96 in Oregon. Wow, it's hot everywhere. Katie says just got home from the hill country of Texas. Heather Penman says somewhat UK in Great Britain. It's 90 degrees there. Geez, it's hot all over the earth right now. Incredible. DDR, what's he up to? Chickens who eat their own eggs have nutritional deficiency. Ooh. I think my daughter must have read something different on that. It's not their own eggs. It was other eggs. But they like those eggs, so I hope it didn't break the laws of poultryism by feeding those other chicken eggs. And Corey says the Crazy Country Songs episodes are what led me to this channel. Thank you, Corey. I hope the Crazy Country lyrics will lead even more people to this channel. All right, let's go ahead and kick off what we're here to talk about tonight, and that is the great ladies of country music history. We have a lot of them, and I want to apologize if I drink more than I usually do, but it being like 92 degrees out here, it's sort of hot. I'm going to drink what I can. Drink and chew peanuts anyway. Joshua Johns and I, we talked about this, about what ladies to include in this episode, because there's so many great ones. And there is some discrepancy about who was the first female recording country artist. And there are some discrepancies about this. But Joshua and I are going with Reba Stanley. Reba was the, not Reba, but Reba was, we're honoring her as the first female country artist in the early 20s. She was a friend of Fiddlin' John Carson. If you know country music history, Fiddlin' John could be the actual first person to record a country record that was a male. Now, Reba has an interesting story because she had a record out called Single Life. And And the Single Life record, she talked about how great the single life was, which that's amazing to sing about in the 1920s. But she talked about it, how strong she was and independent and all that stuff. Well, strangely enough, just a few years after releasing that record, Reba from Georgia area, along with Phil and John, I believe, they were around Georgia a lot. She got married, and her husband refused to allow her to sing anymore and forced her to give her guitar away. So it goes to show you, some females in country music industry nowadays think they have it tough. Go back to the 20s and what she had to deal with. Maybe it's a decision she made on her own for the happiness in her life. I don't know. But that's just the way it went down. Now, many people may say one person or another person is the first female country star. And to me, I always consider Patsy Montana as the first female country star. And why you ask that? Well, Patsy, born in 1908 in Arkansas, was the first one with a big hit record, I Want to Be a Cowboy Sweetheart, selling over 1 million records. Now, when you sell over 1 million records, that is pretty good stuff. I think that would make you the first female country star, and she was the first one to do that. And we'll be talking about others as we go down this line and they get bigger. But Patsy really was the first one. And I got a clip for you now about Patsy Montana and a little bit about her life.
Before she yodeled her way into the hearts of Americans and became every cowboy's sweetheart. Before she was Patsy Montana, humble beginnings.
Born Ruby Blevens in 1914 in Garland County. She was one of 11 children.
The only girl.
10 boys. She was always dressed as a cowgirl.
As the curator at the Old State House Museum, Jo Ellen Mack has studied her music career.
She always enjoyed music, and she played the fiddle.
Ruby graduated from Hope High School.
Class of 1928.
The incredible Patsy Montana. If you love country music history, I strongly encourage you to learn more about Patsy Montana, because honestly, she really started it all. And that led into what many people that will probably disagree with me was the first country music superstar, female, and that was the incredible Kitty Wells, born in Nashville, Tennessee. That is a strange occurrence, because not many country artists are actually born in Nashville. I guess if my daughters become country artists, 3 of them were born in Nashville, so maybe there's a future there. I don't know. But anyway, her real name is Ellen Muriel Deason. She changed it to Kitty Wells. She had the first #1 song from a female performer in country music. And I think back when Patsy was out, I'm not sure if there was even a country chart. But so it was first recognized as the first #1 single. Had multiple top 10 hits as well. So many people really consider Kitty Wells to be the first queen of country music, first country music superstar. A little clip from Kitty now. Kitty lived a long time. Thank God for that. But one of the great interviewers in country music history is Crook and Chase, Charlie Chase, Lorianne Crook. Here's a clip with Crook and Chase with Kitty Wells asking her the wildest thing she ever did on stage. And before I viewed this clip, I knew what Kitty was going to say, because Kitty is pretty tame. So let's tune in and see what happened.
Thought occurred to me while you were performing. You know, I see you performing and you're doing your big hit record and all. Nowadays in country music, there's a lot of glitter, a lot of sound, a lot of action on stage.
Right.
Did you ever do anything out of the ordinary on stage as far as action? No?
No, not me.
Well, let's say you had your first hit record now. Would you be willing to do something like swing from a trapeze while you're singing
no,
or anything?
I don't think so.
No? Not in your repertoire.
It's not my cup of tea.
Well, what do you think? What do you think is the wildest thing you ever did on stage?
I can't think of anything wild I ever did.
Really?
Nothing at all?
No.
Your husband probably would have gotten very angry if you'd done anything wild,
Yeah,
huh?
probably. Now, he might do something like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, when I see Kitty talking like that, it reminds me of my mom, too, because ladies growing up in that era, maybe they weren't as wild as they are today, or at least they're not fessing up to it. Like the great Kitty Wells. All right, Joshua told me, Kevin, you got to mention Jean Shepard. What a Beautiful Woman and What a Beautiful Singer, multiple awards, multiple hits between 52 and 76. And, you know, Gene has a tragic connection to country music history. Gene was married to Hawkshaw Hawkins. And that, folks, if that name rings a bell to that, Hawkshaw was on the plane with Patsy Klein when that plane crashed in the 60s and they all died. Well, for so long in the 60s, and I think in the 70s too, there was a rumor going around that Gene Shepard hated Patsy Klein for some reason. Unfounded rumor, but mainly a misunderstood rumor. So here is Gene Shepard talking about the death of her husband and why people misunderstood this feeling she had, misunderstood it as hate for Patsy Klein. Let's let Gene tell the story.
And a lot of people think that during this time that I hated Patsy Klein. And the phone rang, and it was a woman in Minnesota who was one of his fan club representatives. And she said, but this time it was probably 10 o'clock or so. She said, "What are you doing?" And I was really irritated at the woman because she woke me up. And I said, "I'm doing whatever Southerner does about 10, 11 o'clock. I said, "I'm in bed asleep." She said, "Are you really?" And I said, "Yeah, what's the matter with you?" And she said, "You haven't heard." I knew what it was. Nobody had to tell me. I knew that there had been an accident. But it was a horrible, horrible 2 or 3 days. And a lot of people think that during this time that I hated Patsy Klein. And that's not the story at all. I resented the way that it was presented, that like she was the only person on that airplane. And if that's wrong, I'm sorry, but I had my reasons, and I think if they would put themselves in my position, they'd understand.
Amen to that, Gene Shepard. So if anybody ever says that Gene Shepard hated Patsy Klein, that is not the truth. Gene Shepard was just upset at the coverage and the total focus on Patsy and Cowboy Covis, Hawkshaw Hawkins, Randy Hughes were also killed in that plane crash. We'll cover that a little bit more when, of course, we can't do the great ladies of country music without talking about Patsy Klein, and she is coming up. All right. Now, when you see this face, first thing that comes out of my brain when I see Minnie Pearl is, howdy, because that's what she did for 50 years on the Grand Ole Opry. And Minnie Pearl, you know, she did release some country music and she could sing, there's no doubt about that. But Minnie Pearl was incredibly educated. She went to Belmont University. I think her degree was in music and drama, which makes sense because she turned into the queen of country comedy after 50 years on the Grand Ole Opry. Also, I think she was on a Hee Haw a few times as well. So let's go way back in time and bring up a funny little skit from Minnie Pearl when she was a lot younger with Carl Smith. Even today, way to go, Minnie Pearl. And Minnie Pearl was special. She lived a long time. I'm glad she did because she brought us a lot of laughs and a lot of comedy. And before I go any further in this, I want to bring up a message from Corey Beaver. Put it on the screen right now. Corey says, also sending up prayers for my fellow Texans in the Hill Country. Among the flood victims are Pat Green's brother and sister-in-law, along with their children. That was horrible and devastating. If you haven't heard the story, there was a child's Christian camp there, and there was some bad storms, flooding that occurred, and many, many people died. So please remember those good folks in Texas. We've got a bunch of viewers in Texas. We love you guys. We're with you. We're thinking about you. We're praying about you. And we hope that, you know, with time and Godspeed, all this stuff can, I don't know, it's never going to get better. You know, I just hope you have the strength to get through it. So let's keep going here as we feature some of the greatest ladies of country music history. And let's talk about Patsy Klein. Now, when Patsy Klein comes up, there's an alarm that goes off in my head when I hear Patsy Klein's voice. When I was in high school, I sang. I can't really sing now, but I sang, I acted, worked in radio, of course, at 14 years old. But I was trained in musical composition, sight reading, and things like that. And I was trained to hear good notes and good vocal ranges and handling of octaves. And the first time I heard Patsy Klein, I was like, That is out of this world. That is the voice Patsy Klein has. And few women, even some of today's country music superstars, have that ability. Patsy Klein had that ability. And so when I hear Patsy Klein, it just sort of like something goes off in my head, and I wait to hear females with that vocal range, with that vocal ability. And Patsy sure had it. One of the most influential artists of the 20th century, not only in country music. She inspired everybody, performers in all styles and genres. Sadly, as we mentioned earlier, killed in 1963 plane crash with Cowboy Copas, Hawkshaw Hawkins, and manager Randy Hughes. Now, in this clip, we're going to bring up Patsy Klein's daughter. Her name is Julie Fudge. And she's talking about Patsy and the colorful Patsy. And you're also going to have the wonderful Pam Tillis chiming in about the memory of Patsy Klein.
It's odd that so many images of her are in black and white because she was such a colorful person. Pam Tillis grew up hearing about her from her dad, Mel.
I know that she had a spunkiness and a toughness, and I think any woman in show business has to have that a little bit. You know, it's not a great business for shrinking violets.
Mel Tillis wrote a couple of songs for Mom. Pam paid tribute to one of them when she recut So Wrong.
I think the reason that they're still doing tributes is she wasn't a voice that belonged to any time period. Like, she wasn't just a voice of the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah, she's a voice that goes on forever, even in newer movies. Patsy Klein is on soundtracks even to today because she was so incredible. We love Patsy Klein. And who knows what would have happened if she would have lived longer. She didn't. She left us way too soon. But we always love and honor Patsy Klein. And please, folks, I want you to stand by because I've got a few more of these great ladies to talk about. Then I'm going to talk about a great lady up in Newfoundland, Canada. And she's going to be singing a song for you tonight. And I'm so excited about it. So stand by for that, because if you're stretching it out to the end of this video, you're going to get the greatest gift of all. And that's the great gift of just pure, simple, great music. I mean, when I first heard the song, I got a little bit, the chills came over me because it was the time of what was going on in the video. But stand by, that's coming up real soon. Keeping it rolling with the greatest ladies in country music history, we have the one, the only Loretta Lynn. We featured her a few months ago right here on the Front Porch Podcast. And Loretta Webb, born Butcher Holler, Kentucky, the coal miner's daughter. Her husband gifted her a guitar, heard her sing, and said, "No, Loretta, you know, we're not making a lot of money around here. We're poor. Your voice is golden. You can make us a lot of money." And exactly what happened. Lynn was incredible. Lynn wrote more than 160 songs and released 60 albums. That's a lot of work. Plenty of top tens, plenty of number ones. Loretta Lynn is always, and with good reason, is mentioned as one of the divas, one of the queens of country music history. And with a background like hers, she should be mentioned. And one of the reasons she's often mentioned is her association with Conway Twitty. And we featured a lot about Loretta and Conway on this channel, and especially on the Front Porch Podcast. But I got a clip here for you from Charlie Rose, another guy. Got a lot of the stranger interviews tonight from folks who don't usually interview country artists. But Charlie Rose interviewed the great Loretta Lynn. Here's a clip with her talking about her relationship with Conway Twitty.
Conway Twitty, your best friend.
Yes, just like a brother to me. We had been together in business together for 20 years.
You toured together.
Uh-huh. And my husband loved Conway. Everybody that would call...
He would have had to, because all the rumors were that you and Conway were shacking up.
Yes, and every time somebody would call and say they'd like to record with me, would say, "She's got a singing partner."
Conway.
That's right.
The wonderful Loretta Lynn. And I do want to apologize. I don't know if you can hear it on this microphone or not. Hopefully you can. I can hear it through my ear. right across my field over here is another farm field. And the fellow out there has been trying to start his tractor for the last 15 minutes, and he was finally successful. So I apologize if that background noise is overwhelming. But folks, we're really in the country out here. And if a tractor's working, you got to use it. So let's keep rolling on talking about the greatest ladies in country music history. And you got to talk about Tammy Wynette. Tammy, lovely lady. One of those voices, the alarm go off in my head. Maybe I call it a Paty Klein alarm. That this wonderful vocal range, a wonderful vocal ability. Strong, strong, strong. That is Tammy Wynette. Moved to Nashville in '66 with 3 children, all the belongings, and made it big. Eventually married George Jones. In 1969, divorced in '75. Multiple hits all the way up to 1988. Tammy Wynette actually had some problems in her life. You know, it was tough for her sometimes. But Tammy made it through as much as any stronger than she could. And you're not Tammy. Here's a clip from Tammy. And this is just an interesting clip because there's another country legend in this interview. And that's Jerry Reed. And I love Jerry Reed. Jerry Reed is like, he was a great country singer. He was a great comedian. He was a great actor too. And I just love his music. Jerry Reed is the actual one who interviews Tammy Wynette. Right here. Let's check it out.
Okay. Anybody who, how can anybody who sold millions of records and had 27 #1 records be nervous? I wonder. You know why? Because it's where she's born and raised like me. I get nervous. Like, where you from? You down where my mama's from.
Yeah, I was born in Mississippi. Our land joined the Alabama line. Alabama's actually more home to me than Mississippi.
Yeah, you country gal.
Sure
Picked that cotton in.
Oh, Lord, yes.
She burned up a gin.
Well, my granddaddy told me if I picked 50 pounds by noon, I could quit for the day. And I hated picking cotton worse than anything in the world.
I know, I've been there.
So I got out early when it was wet. You know, it would weigh more when it was wet. So I got as much as I could possibly get. And Daddy had always told me never to put a rock in my sack because it would catch the gin on fire. But I wanted to quit it now. So I filled my sack full of rocks. And I went to the wagon and emptied it myself so nobody would know that I put any rocks in it. But I left a few in there and I didn't know it. So Daddy took the cotton to the gin, and the gin was inside of our house, and I sat on the front porch and I saw the smoke.
You set your house on fire.
Set the gin on fire. When it went up that aluminum or metal pipe, whatever it is, when they suck the cotton up through there, it caused sparks and it caught the gin on fire. Well, it takes like 1,300 or 1,400 pounds to make a bale of cotton, and I think it burned up about 400 pounds.
That is the incredible Tammy Wynette. You know, she was a country star, country legend, and a country girl. Now, speaking of country girl, before I go to the next country girl, I'm going to bring another country girl on the camera right with me. This is Gracie.
Where's the camera?
The camera's up.
Oh.
Okay, don't look at the computer. Look up there. And Gracie has a friend with her. For the first time, we have a big name country artist, the Dixie Chicks. Well, the Dixie Chick in this. Can you see it?
Can you see it?
I'm going to enlarge the screen.
Yeah, I want to see if you guys can see it
on the screen.
So oh, okay.
See it? It's one of our Dixie Chicks there.
It's the sweetest one.
What's the name of that one?
Hazy May.
Hazy May. You know, I was hoping for Loretta, Conway, Shania, but Grace is in charge of the chicken production team here at the Country Music Time Machine. So, bye-bye, Dixie Chick.
Bye.
Oh, that's so much fun. Let's bring back up the greatest ladies of country music history on the screen as we're talking about country girls. Let's go to our next country girl. After the wonderful Tammy Wynette, we have Barbara Mandrel. What a lovely one. She's retired now. Barbara is not performing or anything like that anymore. Born 1948 in the great town of Houston, Texas. 2 Grammys also for her gospel work, even though she had many hits between 70 and 1989. And many of those were actually crossover hits, especially as I remember, in the late 70s, you know, was it Sleeping Single in a Double Bed? You know, the crossover hit. But I've got an interview clip for you right now, as Gracie plays with the Dixie Chicks in the background, from Barbara talking with John Tesh, another strange, not known to interview country stars person, John Tesh. So she's talking about her September 11th, 1984 car crash. Changed her life a lot, nearly killed her and her children. Let's tune into that.
Barbara Mandrel is a woman who
is very fortunate.
you've been quoted as saying you're not as optimistic now as the Barbara Mandrel before that car accident. You still feel that way?
I used to only know it like as a figure of speech, but I'm not promised tomorrow. That's a fact. I have my faith and my relationship with him. I have my family. I have my health. And I don't hurt all the time now. I'm grateful. I'm very fortunate.
Those are great and important words from the wonderful Barbara Mandrel. She's retired. We see her every once in a while here around Nashville. It's a special gift thing to do. But she worked her butt off for decades. I mean, she was one of the hardest working women in show business. And how many times do you remember in the 70s, 80s, seeing her and her sisters on TV all the time? How good they were. And great. All right, let's talk about great lady from Canada, going across the border up to Canada, Anne Murray. Anne Murray, I think, is one of those who does not get as much respect and talk as she deserves, because she had a great country career, Canadian country icon, 55 million records sold. That's a bunch of records, and don't matter what I make it. She had multiple hits between 70, 91, multiple Grammy wins. And people who know this, unlike me, she's an excellent golfer. She's the only country star that I know of, and I know quite a few in some of the golf. I've never seen one of them have a hole-in-one or even talk about having a hole-in-one. Anne Murray is a hole-in-one country music star. So we love you, Anne Murray. She's got some new music, I think, coming out pretty soon. It just came out. So make sure you tune in to Anne Murray. Next up is Reba McEntire. Reba, I think most people would, I think most, it's a hard skill to say one way or the other. A lot of people. There's a loud, Reba has a fan base like a Taylor Swift fan base. Her vocals is energetic. And they consider her to be the queen of country music. I don't, but I love her. And when I hear Reba McEntire's voice, the Paty Klein alarm goes off because it's the same vocal range, vocal ability, incredible voice. And we love Reba. So let's play a little clip here about Reba McEntire.
You went through this awful experience when most of your band were killed in this plane crash. And you talked about this many times. I don't want to go over it again. I just wanted to ask you what effect that had on your life afterwards, how it changed your outlook on life, to lose so many people that you were so close to in one horrible day.
Horrible. Just as a nightmare. How did it affect me? It crushed me. It made me realize how precious life is, and all I could think of was their mothers. Mm. How could you go through this? How are you going to see the next day? My heart went out to them, their wives, their children. I just couldn't fathom how they were going to go on. I mean, it hurt me, and they were my friend.
Yeah, just a sad story that plane crash in 1991 when Reba's band members and tour managers all died in the plane crash. You know, Reba's a strong woman because it's tough to rebound from something like that and have the career that she has. But she has. It shows you what such a strong woman she is and what a country legend she is. She doesn't get played on country music radio anymore. Her old stuff does on the stations that play great music. But you know, we love Reba, and to many out there, she's the queen of country music. Now we're getting ready to go across the border to Canada and hear a song right here on the Country Music Time Machine on the Front Porch Podcast. But we can't talk about country legends without speaking of Shania Twain. And we also featured Shania on this channel a few weeks ago on the Front Porch Podcast. And Shania, amazing. Shania is sort of like the George Strait of country music in the sense that people were in love with George Strait, they still are. And a lot of us guys were in love with Shania Twain for great reason. She was beautiful. She was sexy. She had great songs. Some people mistakenly say, oh, she killed country music. That's crap. She had nothing to do with that. She sang, some of the music she sang back there is much more country than what you hear today. And some of them were great country songs. But she sold over 100 million records worldwide, multiple Grammy wins, residencies in Vegas, an amazing country star, even though the height of her country career was really short-lived, 95 to, let's say, 2003 or 4. But she moved the earth when Shania was around, and we still love her, and we hope that her life is treating her well. Let's go to a little interview with Shania now, and when you talk about Shania, you got to talk about sexy, because Shania is sexy. And in this interview, the interviewer asked Shania about her fame and her sexiness.
For the country music image, it was definitely new and different and sexier.
Man, I feel like a woman.
But you have to understand that coming from Canada, I sort of came to Nashville with a certain amount of naivety. I wasn't really aware that I was being that controversial until people started to say, well, you know. And I said, well, it's too late. This is already what I have in my mind, and I really don't feel that I should compromise. I was just lucky that somehow it clicked and it worked.
And we were lucky to have great music from Shania Twain. And I remember when I first met Shania, or Eileen, way back before she became a superstar, she was just down-to-earth country girl. She may have been from Canada, but she was still a country girl. Love her. Shania Twain. All right, let's talk about Carrie Underwood. Carrie Underwood probably was one of those who followed in the footsteps. You can say footsteps from Loretta Lynn to Anne Marie to Shania Twain to Carrie Underwood. Carrie Underwood is one of those. Her first big hit was Jesus Take the Wheel. So she can thank Jesus for her career. Discovered in American Idol in 2004, 85 million records sold worldwide. She is creeping upon old Shania's records there. Many awards, including 8 Grammys. And Carrie is an Okie from Muskogee. Merle Haggard sang about Okie from Muskogee. His parents were from Oklahoma, but I think Merle was born in California. Carrie is true blue Okie from Muskogee, married to NHL hockey player Mike Fisher. And if you live in and around Nashville, there's a few people I always seem to run into, or at least see from afar. Carrie Underwood, Keith Urban, Nicole Kidman, Vince Gill, and Amy Grant. So if you're in and around Nashville, don't be surprised if you run into good folks, really good folks. And let's talk about some other notables of the great ladies of country music. Got 3 on the screen, 2 on the left and right, far left, far right. You may know them. Of course, you should. They're great country singers. As Langley Wilson and Miranda Lambert. They have had a great career. I wanted to bring them up here, especially with Laney, because she is really the latest country star that's really singing country music mostly. And we love her. But I also wanted to bring up the beautiful lady in the middle. It's one of the mysteries of country music history, Leanne Rimes. Leanne Rimes makes that Paty Klein alarm go off. Leanne Rimes, one of the most powerful voices in country music history. How she did not become a superstar like a Reba or Shania, I don't understand. I know there's a lot of controversy in her early career or whatever, But boy, you're blessed to have someone like Leanne Rimes. Such a great voice. If you don't think she has a great range, listen to her song Blue. It will blow you away. Great stuff from other notables, other notable females in country music history. And of course, to me, based on data, based on business, based on influence, based on impact, Dolly Parton is the queen of country music. Born in 46, one-room cabin in East Tennessee, Pigeon Forge, Sevierville area over there. You know, she is just amazing for so many reasons. And not only did she have multiple hits, great actress. She's done TV stuff. She's done movie stuff, of course. 9 to 5, Steel Magnolias, actually my favorite Dolly Parton movie. It was a really, really good movie, especially if Julia Roberts was in there. I was in love with Julia Roberts here for a while until Shania Twain did take her place. But Dolly Parton is amazing. Sadly, she, not too long ago, lost her husband. So she's saying right now it's tough for her to write songs. And that's amazing because she's composed over 3,000 songs, winning 11 Grammy Awards, member of many halls of fame out there, just about all of her. She's probably a member of the Polka Music Hall of Fame, but I do question why she's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know. That's just a strange one. Dolly Parton did not sing rock and roll. But anyway, you take what you can get, I guess. So that's Dolly Parton. And those are some just great ladies of country music history. I hope you guys agree with the list I have for you tonight because I think they're great. But when you think about it, what's our future? Well, I was telling someone today, someone that's getting ready to sing for us here on the Country Music Time Machine on the Front Porch podcast. I was telling her, I was saying, Kelly, it's a tough world for it's always been a tough industry for female artists in country music. When I first got in the radio, I was 14. That was 1982. So back then, and until I left radio and started working for the U.S. government, we were not allowed to play 2 female country artists back to back on the radio. You still don't hear as many as you used to. Now, there are debates about why that is. Some say it's sexism, and I think that's part of it. Some say it's just the way it's done. There are loads of female country fans out there, and those female country fans love their male country artists. So quite often, the male country requests, the input are coming from the female fans. So it gets a little muddy there. And with the invasion of pop and rap music into country music here lately, and with it stretching the genre so much, it has me and others worried. But what is the future? I think we're going to be okay as long as we have folks like Ella Langley in country music, because she is keeping it country, as I always say. Let's keep it country here on Country Music Time Machine. She is keeping it country. And when I worked at CMA Fest last month, Ella was there, along with all the other country stars, and she had a press conference, and cameras were rolling, including my camera. And this is a clip from CMA Fest, and Ella's talking about a few different things in this clip. I want you to tune into it. But she leads off by talking about her getting the first award of her career and really what it meant to her. So let's listen to Ella Lang.
So that was my first award show that was ever, I think I was ever nominated for something, or I just remember the whole day being a whirlwind. And my date that night was actually the other guy I wrote the song with, Aaron Ratier. And we found out in the car together, and it was just the perfect way to find out you won an award, is with the person you wrote the song with, and kind of took, by kind of I mean a lot, took the pressure off of the night. We kind of just got to enjoy the rest of the night and focus on the performance, and it was so special to get to find out that way. I think whenever you move to this town, everyone's like, number one. You learn what a number one is. I don't think I even understood that before I moved here, and how the significance of it and how hard it is to do. It's not an easy thing. And so this song going number one, this being my first song to go number one, it's crazy. It's nuts because we wrote it as a joke. We wrote it as just something to bring a smile to our face, and it's changed our lives and has changed our lives. So very special. Well, Nissan Stadium, that's the biggest stage of all CMA Fest, right? I mean, there's not much bigger than Nissan Stadium. So this is my 4th year doing CMA Fest, and last year I got to do Chevy Riverfront, but this year doing Nissan Stadium it's a stadium. Just first of all, it's insane to walk out there and see that many people. But, I was just sitting there talking to some of my crew earlier about how, wow, it's so hot every year for CMA Fest, and these fans come out and they sweat and they stand in line and they watch the shows. So to get to play the stadium and cap the night off that way for some of these fans is just so cool. So special for me and my crew.
The incredible Ella Langley, and please, country music industry, bring more Ella Langleys along. We need more Ella Langleys. We need more Zach Tops and those types. But yes, the female impact on country music is incredible. The female voice through history, whether it's someone you see on TV, here on the radio, or singing on your front porch, has healed more wounds probably than doctors, psychiatrists, medicines, preachers, or anything. The female voice is just a God-gifted thing to the world. And, very seldom do I say that anything I watch on YouTube is a gift from God or blessed. But I was blessed when I tuned in to this YouTube channel just this week called Scout Outdoors. And Scout Outdoors is a YouTube channel about basic country living life in Newfoundland, Canada. That's, see on the screen right now, that is Kelly and her cool husband Matty. They work hard, they bring up a great country life there, and they tell great stories, and their videography is incredible as well. To be alone and using a generator is pretty amazing. But I was watching this episode, and I want to close out the Front Porch Podcast with this song tonight as a tribute to all the great female country music voices in history, because these female voices have touched us, in some ways changed our lives, in some ways soothed our soul, if I can even say it. But we're gifted with these great female voices. So I'm going to play you right now the incredible Kelly Clark. Kelly is from the Appalachian region of Virginia. And you can see in her guitar picking in her voice, down at heart, she's a country girl. I want to thank Kelly and Matty for allowing me to mention them on the show tonight and to play this song. So ladies and gentlemen, let's close out the country music time machine. Let's keep it country. God bless you. Before I go, here's my gift to you. Here is the wonderful Kelly Clark.
I wrote this song back down south in Virginia. This is called Save Your Bullets. Here we go. Sheriff, save your bullets, I'm riding through. 3 days shy of 22. I'm a hotshot shooter called Virginia Blue. Got a bounty in Texas and Tennessee too. Save your bullets, I'm riding through. Hard time blues for a bonny lass. Lost her husband to a gambler's match. Tales of riches on the trail that passed. Saw the gold through the whiskey time riding through. 3 days shy of 22. I'm a hot shot shooter called Virginia Blue. Got a bounty in Texas and Tennessee too. Save your bullet time riding through. Rode to a town south of Alamo. Roughed up ram, but tipped his hat real low. Deceit in disguise was the look in his eyes. He sent me right into the firing line. Sent me right into the firing line. Well, Sheriff, say your bullet time riding through. 3 days shy of 22. I'm a shooter called Virginia Blue. I got a bounty in Texas and Tennessee too. Save your bullet time riding through. Save your bullet time coming for you.
So good, Kelly.
There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, dropped some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.